Well, it's time now for a look through the international papers, and for that I'm joined on set now by Diptyque Laurent. Hi, Dipty.
Hi, Hattie.
You're starting off with a lot of reaction we've been getting to Donald Trump definitively calling off talks with the Taliban.
That's right. He was due to host peace talks with the Taliban scheduled days before the anniversary of September 11. Then on the weekend, despite Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying the talks would go ahead, Donald Trump canceled them. And then on Monday, he canceled them indefinitely. That decision, believed to have been sparked by the death of a U.S. soldier last Thursday. That U.S. soldier was killed alongside a Romanian army corporal and several Afghan civilians in a suicide bombing attack. The death of the U.S. soldier, apparently the last straw for Donald Trump in the U.S.'s nearly year-long negotiations for peace talks with the Taliban.
And what's reaction looking like from within Afghanistan?
Well, there's an interesting article from NPR that looks at how the decision to cancel the talks has actually been welcomed by locals in Afghanistan. NPR explaining that many Afghans have seen their government's top leaders reduced to spectators as the U.S. and Taliban negotiate between themselves. And the breakdown in these talks shows that the important role that the Afghani government should play and will play. An eventual deal would have seen the gradual withdrawal of the U.S.'s 14,000 troops in Afghanistan. The problem is now that the deal's off, nobody really knows what the future of the mission is. The one writer for the Washington Post welcoming Donald Trump's decision, saying a deal with the Taliban would have been unwise. The writer says there's now an opportunity to hit the reset button. After all, I quote, "The opportunity for peace in Afghanistan is too precious to squander with a not fully baked premature agreement."
We're heading now to Germany, where there's outrage, I think it's fair to say, after a neo-Nazi was elected to the head of a small commune near Frankfurt.
That's right. He was elected. I mean, that's also must be said. Stefan Jagst was elected head of the municipal council of Waldsiedlung thanks to support from socio-democrats and conservative lawmakers there. It has outraged the German press and political parties. The local TV Hessen show, sarcastically rather, says that the elected officials have voted for their, quote, nice little right-wing colleague. Judge, though, is described as being somebody who's kind of calm and a team player, but his past is quite sordid. He was part of a particularly radical youth group. He's advocated separate school classes for German children and foreign children, and a call for the end of immigration, the beginning of repatriation, and so forth. Der Zeit, another German daily, says just because it's a local election doesn't mean that the results aren't symbolic. The paper warning us not to minimize Judge's election. I quote, "Each little political success becomes a heroic story and a reason for that particular cause to keep going."
Moving on now to the French press, Formula One legend Michael Schumacher is making the front page of Le Parisien today.
Yeah, the 7-time world champion was injured in a skiing accident back in December 2013, and since then we don't really know. It was a pretty horrific accident, and since then not much has been revealed about his condition. Le Parisien today on its front page reporting that he was actually treated in secret at a Parisian hospital yesterday. It took place in the cardiovascular surgery department. Schumacher is believed to have been taken care of by Philippe Menache, who's a surgeon and pioneer of stem cell treatment to treat cardiac problems, but there's no word on whether that's what he was there for. Media speculation around Schumacher's health means that these visits are inevitably very secretive. For instance, Michael Schumacher checks in under a fake name. Often he arrives by helicopter, and he's treated by a very small, close-knit team of doctors.
Finally, from you, Dipty, a heartwarming story of a US university doing all it can to combat bullying.
That's right, and it's a really nice story. An elementary school student in Florida turned up to class wearing a homemade T-shirt supporting his favorite college football team that was the University of Tennessee. So he and his fellow students had taken part in a college event the day before, and he apparently designated this college his favorite football team. So he didn't have a T-shirt, so he made one himself in honor of the University of Tennessee, and he got viciously bullied for it. So the University of Tennessee has announced now that it will be using the student's design on a new T-shirt that has been pre-ordered 16,000 times, and all the proceeds going to to an anti-bullying association.
Well, that will give something for his bulliers to think about.
That's right.
Diptyque Laurent with a look through the international papers. Thank you very much indeed. You can catch this press review once again on our website, france24.com. And that's exactly where you can also find many other press reviews from recent days. Do check it out when you get a moment.